What we've got here is a very early view of the city of Racine, looking southeast from the north side of the river. This particular lithograph was produced and sold back in 1860. It's not dated, but research has proven it's from that year. The view is looking toward the downtown area, which you can see they didn't have very many tall buildings at the time. But there are a number of bridges and a number of prominent landmarks. This is a Wisconsin Street Bridge. At the time, there was no Main Street Bridge. It was a turn bridge and took you across to the north side of the river and to the south side where it connected with the railroad yards along Wisconsin Street. This was the Racine and Mississippi Railroad, which was actually Racine's own railroad that was started here, headquartered in the building that is now the Johnson building that used to be the Nelson Hotel. You can see that building here, just poking up above the other tall buildings. 1853-52, the railroad was chartered, and they built their yards down in the area where the river made a bend, and the first depot was right there. That's a long frame building. And later on, this became part of the Western Union Railroad, and then eventually was absorbed by the Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Paul, which became the Milwaukee Road. The tracks ran all the way out to the Mississippi. If you look here, here's a grain elevator, Dutton and Raymond's grain elevator. There were elevators all along the river to process grain, get it into the ships. Farmers would come with loads of grain from all over the vicinity, the farming areas to the west, and they would line up on Market Square. There'd be sometimes block-long lines of wagons to sell their grain and get it into the elevators. There's a ship in the harbor, is the Comet. This is actually one of the Goodrich ships, one of the early Goodrich ships. That boat was built in 1860, so that's another reason this dates from 1860. As you go down the river, you see two more bridges, if you can see them or not. The first one is the 2nd Street Bridge, which was a turn bridge, crossing roughly north of where the State Street Bridge is, right at State Street approximately now. The second one would be the 4th Street Bridge, which was the early version of the one that some people might still remember, the metal bridge that was across there. All those bridges are gone, of course. This was the industrial part of town over here where Case Company and some of the foundries were. Really wasn't much industry in 1860 yet, but you're seeing the beginnings of it. But it was also a residential area where Case had their plant, where many, many homes, and some of the nicer homes were in what was called Sagetown, that area along State Street and south of State Street. This building here is a grain elevator, and that's on the site of what today is D.P. Wigley, the D.P. Wigley building. D.P. Wigley was, the current building was constructed to manufacture linseed oil in 1872, and later turned into a feed and flour mill. This grain elevator burned in 1870, and you can see that the railroad tracks go right underneath the overhang of the building so they could drop the grain right into the hoppers. It's a very detailed print, and if you zoom in on it, you can actually see quite a bit of painstaking care that went into drawing this. The boy down here is David Griswold, who was a fishing in the scene, and he later became a reporter for the Racine Journal.
Now, how do you know that, John?
I asked him.
Oh.
I got to credit that to Eugene Leach, who lived at the time and could talk to the people that knew some things about this. This house, it's just teetering on the edge there, was the Barnes house. But there's a lot of buildings here that you can't see in at first glance, and you get a magnifier out, you can really enjoy this print. and study it for a long time. So check it out next time you're at the exhibit.